everyone. Welcome to Executive Evolve with Rajiv Bajaj. Uh, Welcome to the first episode of Executive, talk which we are going to have with Mr. Aditya Mani. He is the founder of YOLOgram. Aditya has many feathers on his cap. He's heading a few, ventures which are supporting the Web3 space, and I think I'll be failing in covering all of them. So I request Aditya straight away to please, introduce yourself, Aditya.
Thank you very much, sir, for having me on your podcast. It's truly very special, and I'm very touched that I'm the first, one of the first speakers on your podcast. I'm sure it will do exceedingly well. Um, my name is Aditya Mani. For those who are tuning in, I run a small startup called YOLOgram Style, and we bring branded fashion onto your 3D avatar. So what that does is basically you will have an avatar, which is a playable character, which will go into metaverses and games, and we bring brands into the onto your avatar, and we also create spaces where brands can be present, so that Gen Z can discover them in gamified and gaming universes or metaverses out there. So this is basically a small snapshot of what Yologram is. I'm also the director of Metaverse Standards Forum. I'm a senior member of the VR ARA, and I'm serving as the chair of retail for the VR ARA, which is the Virtual Reality and Augmented Reality Association. I am also the chair for retail at AIXR, which is the Academy of International XR, which is extended reality, which is again a network of professionals worldwide. I'm also chairing the Digital Fashion Wearables group of the Metaverse Standards Forum. That is, I'm a co-chair along with a few other chairs from some good fashion brands as well as some good XR companies. I am the chair of India for WBAF, which is the World Business Angels Federation. So these are some of the associations which I'm also associated with, apart from running Eurogram. I have about 20 to 23 years of more than 2 decades of experience running, running businesses, running startups. So this is my second startup venture which I'm running, which is in the software space.
That's great, Aditya. And that is why when we were thinking of conceiving this idea of a post podcast, I thought that it is very appropriate to invite you as the first speaker for our podcast. And as the name suggests, is Evolve and Execute with Rajiv Bajaj. So we are actually going to deep dive into how startup founders should evolve, and they should not only evolve, they should actually execute their thought process, ideas, and today we are going to talk about more of innovation. So from that perspective, Aditya, what do you think? What does innovation mean to you?
According to me, innovation is kind of like representation. So innovation is often, people mistake for invention. Invention is something which you have invented, but innovation is really about representing that. So, for example, I would say Steve Jobs was a great innovator because the MP3 player was already there, but he represented it in a way which was more meaningful for consumers by introducing the iPod. So, that is where you're sitting and thinking of it from the stakeholders' point of view, rather than looking at it from the inventor's point of view or the creator's point of view, which is perhaps with one dimension, so giving it a multi-dimensional view, and then further taking it, using that as an avenue to understand the customer's problem, and then further, going deeper into what the customer wants. So I would like to think that innovation is more about, having a deep kind of connect with the customer with an inventor's mindset, but not, it need not be an invention. It could be something which could be represented. For example, ChatGPT also is a representation of LLMs which have existed for last 10, 15 years. So when some of the people in the LLM and AI space, they often said, "What is the big deal about this? We have been dealing with this chatbots and these for a long time, but nobody really thought of it from the use case at which ChatGPT presented it to the world as
Yeah.
something very simple which you can use for your everyday life." So that's the way I look at innovation, Mr. Viraj.
Great, great. So it's all about thinking differently, thinking from the use case perspective, presenting it to the world that this is how you can use this invention. I think that's where the problem solving ability comes in, and that is where the innovator's mindset is tested. So, was there any moment in your life when you realized that you think differently?
I don't think there's been one moment where one feels this way, but one has learned over time to, initially when you're passionate and you're deep in the trenches of what you're doing, you're thinking as an inventor, and you think that what I have invented is truly $1 billion idea, and I feel that uh, this will change the world. But this will only change the world when the world adopts it and world uh, starts to use this. And for that, you need to have the mindset of thinking from stakeholders' point of view, not from inventors' point of view. So this has come, I think, more recently to me. Earlier, I was in the engineering trap where I was thinking of things purely from engineering point of view. So if I make some major invention in superconductor or semiconductor, till I'm able to bring it down to a use case where it's democratized, where it can be brought down, where someone can utilize it, it's of no use. That invention can just might as well sit in the museum. So this is something which has come in the last 3 4 years, learning over time that you should get out of inventor mindset and get into the consumer or the stakeholder mindset in order for you to start thinking as an innovator.
Great, great. A very, very positive input you have given us there. So what is the biggest myth, about innovators that people get wrong?
Yeah, so there are two camps. One camp is that innovators have to be inventors. So person who's discovered or invented something has to be the innovator. And then the other camp is that, oh, this person is nothing but just a marketer. This person is nothing but just regurgitation or old wine in new bottles. So is kind of a fraud. So I think the answer is somewhere in the middle. The the answer is understanding the perspective from the creator and the inventor's point of view, and also understanding the perspective from the stakeholders point of view. I think that balance as well as that spectrum of going from both to both sides is equally important. And if you want to know the biggest myth, I think the biggest myth could be either of the two mindsets. One mindset that if you're only an inventor, you're an innovator. I'm not sure. I think some good inventors are innovators. And the other mindset is that if you're only a marketer, you're an innovator. No, I feel that marketer, you can be a semi-inventor, like, or you could have a very clear thought process like Elon Musk, know the details, go into the details, have the bandwidth to go into the details, but at the same time think of it from the end use perspective. So I think it's not one or the other. It could be a spectrum of where you stand between marketer and inventor, and sometimes you can bounce between two. And I feel that's where the myth is that you're typecast in one. I feel that you could be going in different scales along the gray scale depending on where you are and your ability to absorb the complexity of the problem.
Very nice. I think you gave a very apt example of Elon Musk. The whole world is talking about him these days. So, how do you challenge the status quo in your industry? I know that you are in a very different industry, which many people are not aware of. So, how do you do that?
So to challenge the status quo, I think you need to. So everyone is in a comfort zone, right? So for example, people have heard it many times that AI is going to disrupt our jobs, but it will not disrupt our jobs. It will disrupt someone else's jobs. So you need to be able to think, and you must be able to speak to your customers in an empathetic at the same time way in which the disruption will empower them. If you kind of scare people into feeling that this disruption is going to uh, you know take their jobs away or take their role away, then we all have the ostrich mindset to say that either this person is only bringing bad news, or let me just focus on my work, which means bury my head in the sand and continue doing what I'm doing, because that gives me a sense of being safe. So, to answer your question on how do you challenge it, I think you challenge it with empathy. And at the same time, you look at the reality of what is happening, and you look at what is disrupting, you look at what is it that the consumer is eventually going to go towards, and then keep checking yourself every maybe few weeks, and you look at the mega trends out there and see where are you panning out with these mega trends. Are these mega trends going to disrupt you, or are these mega trends going to enable you or empower you in doing what is it that you want to do?
Fantastic perspective, Aditya. Thank you so much for that. I think you mentioned about fear of failure. The most people, they are scared of taking the plunge into new things or implement their new ideas because they have this fear of failure. So, tell us about any major, example, major failure which you would have come across in your this long journey of 23 years, and how do you navigate it? That's very important for that would be very positive for our listeners to understand.
Yeah, I think success blinds us at times into checking ourselves and knowing that we are capable of, going down the wrong path. So when you are successful in something, often you feel that what you're doing is correct in every aspect. So in my previous startup, I had built a very deep and very, very complex and massive ERP and very massive complex system which had many many screens, maybe 1,000 screens. And what happens in an engineer's mindset is when you have built, because an engineer who is a good engineer is also like an athlete. So the minute you challenge yourself and you reach that milestone, you want to do the next milestone. So after I built my first 100 screens, I said, no, this is not deep enough. I should make 250 screens which have all the detail in it. When I touched 250, I wanted to go to 500 screens, because not only am I crossing that barrier, I'm even increasing my threshold of how much I must do more. And then very soon we realized we were at 1,000 screens. And the problem was not that we had made 1,000 screens. The problem was that that animal had become so complex, had become so ginormous, that I understood it. Maybe one or two other software programmers understood it, but for it was so fluid. It would work to every use case. It would work to every scenario. But sometimes our consumers would feel scared and they would put it away, saying that for this, we would need to go through a proper manual, or we would have to go through a proper training to use this. So I feel that it's important to check yourself, and when you're going down a rabbit hole, to if you, especially if you're an entrepreneur, to get seek that feedback. We have all dealt with sales, and we know one thing, that when the door is slammed on your face, at that moment it feels bad, but it also gives you a point to pivot. It gives you a point to rethink it. If you have a good mindset, you challenge yourself into asking, why did the door slam on my face? Was it that the product was not correct? Was it that the need was too early? Or was it that the pricing was not correct? So when you start thinking in those directions, or was it too complex, then you will start to realize, or it could be a bad customer, right? So the more you do it, the more such doors you have slammed on your face, the wiser you get. So if you have that mindset, that the more you are going to adopt, and you're willing to seek feedback, even if it means temporary kind of setback, you're better off, rather than getting totally surprised and knowing that you are so far away from where the real requirement is, that you don't want to see it at all, and you will be stuck in that mindset forever. So I feel that that is one of my learnings which I've had, is better to have show something to the outside world, let people critique it, let people give feedback, rather than hiding it and keeping it close to your chest and worrying if someone will copy it, or wanting to surprise the whole world. I feel that is where it's important to, uh, where it's okay to have a little initial setbacks. You should, you can call it learning, you can call it failure, however you wish, depending on how you can derive energy from the situation. But it's always good to, not to seek feedback rather than avoid hearing that the feedback is bad.
Fantastic. That's $1 million advice that you are giving to young entrepreneurs. Uh, but I have been implementing a lot of change management projects. Even I was trained in Japan for change management by an American coach. But I feel that change is something which is very difficult to implement because especially for the innovators, because they are thinking differently. Their ideas are their own ideas, but when they are actually implementing those ideas, definitely there's a lot of resistance which is being faced from others who are being part of the ideas of team members. So, what do you think? How you have been pushing the change within your organization or team?
Yeah, I think that the way change was pushed 15, 20 years back is very different from the way change is pushed today. Earlier, it was more process oriented, so everyone must follow the same. It's like clockwork. Everyone must follow the same process, and it's take it or leave it kind of factory working, which was very good in those days. These days, it's more like orchestra where it's not just that you are playing, but you are playing with everyone else. So if someone goes out of tune, how do you make sure that that thing out of tune is also made to sound in harmony so that it looks like it's a part of the song? So this is something where it's not just individuality, it's also the team thinking that matters. So if everyone feels for the team, then people do not want to throw the guy who is wrong under the bus. I think that feeling should come in. And then also it should not ever feel like it's being forced from the top, whether it's forced from management or forced from the entrepreneur. One should be very clear in understanding that perhaps even there could be a blind spot even from the visionaries mindset. So take people's opinion along, take them along, ask them how would you do this, take them along. And what we have realized is that if you have super athletes or super cricketers, and there's no teamwork, they will not do as well as how we saw in Lagan, that you had very average, uh, very average, but they have good chemistry, they have good feeling for each other, and they want to help each other out. uh, that team will tend to do better. So we have even seen it in the movie by Disney called Guardians of the Galaxy, where each character is like is almost incapable, but they come together because they are in an orchestra together. So I feel that is very important. When you work together as a team, then you get the energy to work beyond this 9 to 5. You feel a positive energy to move towards what is it that you want to do. You feel for each other. You fill up each other's gaps. So I feel that is a good environment to set, where the need for change comes from within versus from top down.
Fantastic examples you gave, Aditya, and I think a lot to learn from these real life examples because that's what life is. Life is not that straight line. You have to manage those upheavals on the way. So I would like to ask you, what's your mindset when some of your ideas don't work out or you face difficulty? So how do you handle it psychologically?
Yeah, so I have learned over time not to push anything with a very high amount of passion in the start, and then push it and then seek feedback and keep evolving. That's a better way to do it, because the more you push it with, you push it down someone's throat, then you realize that you could be wrong. So there is this possibility that every one of us could be wrong. And it will be, if you are wrong and the person you're pushing it with is wrong, it will be met with much resistance. So it's again pushing, kind of going back to the previous question. But I would say that, the it is often that a lot of us, our ideas don't work out or our thoughts don't work out. It's important to check with the team. It's important to get feedback from either the stakeholder or the teams on how we could do things differently, and also have this mindset that all of us are capable of misjudging or missing it completely. You could be just 99 and 100, so there is a one there's a difference of one between 99 and 100, but you still missed the bullseye and you wanted to hit the bullseye. So being kind to yourself, being realizing that it's not all or nothing. It's you can always pivot back. I feel these are important, and of course, taking your team along. So if you take your team along and you check with them, then sometimes they steer you back to 100 from 99. If you push it down their throat, they may knowingly know that you're missing the bullseye by going on 99. They will not bother to correct you because they were like, these are boss's orders, we followed boss's orders, we knew it's going to miss the mark, but we didn't have a voice in this, therefore we didn't speak. So I feel that, keeping your ears open, hearing your stakeholders, hearing your biggest critics, or hearing your competition, I think these are all things that we have learned over time. This is what makes humble and successful leaders, compared to the earlier way where it was my way or the highway.
Yeah, perfect, perfect. Let us give some practical tips for innovators, and Aditya, I would like to ask a few questions so that, our listeners can learn from them. What are daily habits which help you stay innovative? Can you share that?
Yeah, so daily habits, I would say that, it's all about the motley crew, it's all about the team, and the team should be in sync. So when we are saying in sync, there should be expectations on both sides on who is doing what. There should be expectations on both sides, all sides, I mean, when something is being done. So sometimes if there is, you just if you come to a meeting and say, we must do this, and everyone claps, and nobody agrees to who is doing it, then, we could be coming back to another meeting and saying the same thing again. So, try to figure out, do we have an action point, or is it just a vision statement which is going to uh, sit on the piece of paper somewhere there? The other thing we need to check on is, in sync. If two people are expecting it and you are foreseeing that that handshake is not happening, in a polite way, we check with both parties to check that, are you okay? I hope this will happen. And then also getting progress. So sometimes we have different mindsets of people. So some people want to surprise everyone by not sharing and then coming up and, it's a kind of term used in India where they say that you're a hidden talent and you want to surprise the whole world. But what happens is that many times it doesn't work out the way you want, and then it just looks like, because you've not shared, we've not done any work. So we encourage the team to share, even if they're sharing in the wrong direction. We don't tell the team that this is wrong and you need to be reprimanded. We say this is also correct, this is another way, but try to think in this direction. So team communication, understanding who is doing what, when, who needs what in the handshake. All of these are important things that we have come to know over time, especially during COVID when we were working remotely, that these are things where if there is assumption and there is a lack of coordination, we can completely, miss. And then people waiting can also get frustrated if they don't know how much longer they have to continue to keep waiting.
Very nice. One anecdote I used to share with my team members is that if you are intelligent and you only know that you are intelligent, it doesn't make sense. I know that it's very important for everyone to understand this and bring out their ideas to the forum where we are discussing innovation. So if you have to start over again, what would you do differently?
Yeah, I would apply the same to myself. So earlier I did mention that it's important to take feedback. So I feel that, when looking back at life, I would say that uh, there is a different kind of arrogance. So the arrogance could be one kind of arrogance where you can come across as being abrasive, or you could you could be using rough words. And there could be another kind of arrogance, which is, I know better and I know the most, and someone else who is giving me feedback doesn't know as much. And it's only in a very private moment with yourself that you share and you think about things and you realize that perhaps there was not 100% truth to what the other person was saying, but perhaps it gives you a chance to introspect. So I would definitely, if I were to go over again, I would be more mindful about any kind of feedback shared with me. I don't have to react to every feedback. but I should not ignore every feedback at the same time. So I feel that that is something which I would definitely want to do. And it goes into the same concept of strategy. It goes into the same concept of innovators mindset, where you're thinking of the stakeholders perspective. Strategy is also about creating a playing field for the customer, and creating a playing field where the customer has advantage and sees advantage in moving ahead with you. So thinking of it from other person's point of view is also important. And if I were to do over again, or start over again, I would definitely give more thought and give more, at least give it another listen when I hear some kind of feedback from someone.
Yeah, perfect, perfect. So that brings us to a point where I think training and development, as you touched upon, is a very important aspect for innovators. So, can you introduce some highlights to the importance of continuous learning and skill enhancement for innovators?
Yeah, so the world is technologically, the world is moving at a very, very fast pace right now, because we are far more connected than we were earlier. There is far more availability of technology. So you have to keep yourself relevant, and you have to make sure that you're trained, and you have access to training and development. But more from an innovator's mindset again, these are technologies now that the consumer is also aware of. So if you go and speak to a fashion brand today, they themselves are asking you, what can you do with chat gpt, what can you do with generative ai? So keep having the same thought process to make sure that you find out what are the mega trends out there, and how are you skilling and making sure that you're technologically relevant. You are relevant for the new world, the new customer today. The new customer also wants to be asset light. They want to outsource as much as possible. They do not want to own. So these are all important ways in which you challenge yourself and make yourself come back to the table to learn more. I feel every true engineer innovator realizes that they never stop learning. So that's very important part of the journey.
Thank you, Aditya, for that. So, how do you think training and development can add value to your team's growth? Because I think that's a very important aspect.
Yeah, so having the innovators mindset, or having the learning mindset to be a part of your ethos is very important. And we should always welcome any kind of training and development which comes into the organizational setup. And we must also encourage our teams to upskill themselves, because sometimes they privately upskill themselves to enhance their career. But if they are sharing with the organization, then the organization should also either partake some fees to enable it to happen, or let them attend seminars during work time, so that they are not they get attendance for that time. So these are all things which are important, because it's better to have a multi-skilled person than to have two three different people and then deal with the coordination. Because the value a multi-skilled person can bring in is far more than what two or three people can bring in, because then there will still be a transmission loss, and there will still be a friction between multiple resources. Whereas in order for a person to think in different dimensions, it adds tremendous value to your workforce.
Great insights, Aditya. So, I think these insights are really going to help, boost the innovation and leadership mindset in our listeners, and they will definitely get lots of new ideas from this. So, just to wrap up our discussion today, Aditya, what is that one question every innovator should be asking themselves?
Yeah, so if you see both some of the, if you Google and go on YouTube and hear some of the talks by Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, they talk about some clear fundamentals. So are you answering those clear fundamentals? If you are answering those clear fundamentals, it doesn't matter which market you are, which product category you are. So consumers want things faster, consumers want things cheaper, they eventually want everything free, they want everything immediate. So if you are constantly pushing yourself in these dimensions, you are automatically forcing yourself into an innovation mindset. also consumers also question the relevance of something. So something that was done 5 years back may not be relevant today because there is a bypass to it, there is a sub-step to it. So organizations may not move as fast as consumers will in adopting and dropping off something which is old tech as well. So, no matter how many, great innovations we have for the Nokia OS, we don't adopt it because we are off the Nokia OS. So that is where you should make sure that you are looking at it from the stakeholders' perspective, and then not just from the stakeholders' perspective, they how the stakeholder wants it to improve over time as well.
Great. Thank you so much, Aditya, for sparing time. And, I'm sure our listeners are get lots of inputs from this very first episode of Evolve and Execute with Rajiv Bajaj. And we will keep on giving them these valuable insights uh, to make their journey more smooth. So I'm sure all of them would be very much interested in getting in touch with you in times to come. So Aditya, can you just share which is the best medium they can connect with you?
Yes, I will. I will send a QR code also, but basically it's Aditya Mani YOLOgram. If you search Aditya Mani and YOLOgram on LinkedIn, that's perhaps the best way to get in touch with me because I do connect most on LinkedIn. I'm not very active on Facebook and Instagram and those medium. So
Perfect, perfect.
I will try
I
to
think
QR code and send it across.
definitely we'll share that as well with our audience. And thanks a lot once again for adding lots of flavor to the first episode and sharing innovators mindset useful tips with all of us. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate being on your show.